Well, welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and this one is part one of what I hope will be 3 videos because we're off on a road trip again. It's been over 12 months since we went driving into Europe, but tomorrow we will be ending up in France. I'm not going to give everything away now because this first video is all about the Project 7, which has been invited to the Concours d'Elegance at Hampton Court Palace. This is to celebrate Her Majesty the Queen's birthday. I didn't realise this is what she wanted for her birthday, but I'm very happy to oblige. What the organisers have done is to gather together a car for every one of those 95 years. And the Project 7 represents 2015 because that's when it was launched. So it's all British cars, all launched in one of those years. So a huge gathering of cars on the lawn outside Hampton Court tomorrow. And I thought, well, this is a good excuse. It's vaguely near the Eurotunnel, so I'm going to bolt on other trips beyond Hampton Court. But I'll explain what they are when we're down there, etc. So this video, down the Hampton Court in this car, then I'll give you a guide round the concours and see what actually is there. But I thought it's just a good opportunity to explain a bit more about the Project 7 before we go. Because I'm quite shocked that it's 6 years now I've owned this car, and it's almost 6 years to the day from when it first hit the road. I actually first saw it at they organise these Concours d'Elegance at the various palaces around the UK, is the idea. And in 2015, it was held in Holyrood Palace, just in Edinburgh. And my Project 7 graced the stand of SVO at that event. And I had to give Prince Michael a sort of tour around the car, etc. It's almost 6 years to the day. I think it's about 2 days out. And since then, we've had quite a lot of fun with this car, but it just strikes me that the Jaguar Project 7 isn't that well known, and lots of people seem to think it doesn't have a roof. There's a roof on the Project 7. Let's just have a closer look at some of the bits on this car. So what is quite bizarre about the Jaguar Project 7 is it was right at the beginning of the F-Type journey. Its car's still on sale today in 2021. I'm not quite sure how long it goes on for, but it's very rare to have a sort of a special version, ultimate version of it, right in the beginning. And that's basically what happened with Project 7, because they showed this concept car and then put this concept car into very low volume production, 250 examples. Easier way to tell is this nose here. It's a completely different design to a regular F-Type because it hasn't got the bar going across here. It's an open mouth. And as soon as I saw it, I think, why didn't they do the regular F-Type like that? They've sort of done it on the update one, but I just thought that was super clean. Carbon fibre splitter on there, because this has a huge amount of performance. Again, no magazine has ever done a performance test on a Jaguar Project 7. Don't know why. I had a look on Fast Laps. I can't quite fathom it out. 575 horsepower. An engineer told me the lowest horsepower they've ever seen for one of these engines is 584, but 574 is the rated horsepower. Carbon brakes as standard on it, and then a cut down screen, which as a collector I thought, well, that's a major part of engineering to chop that down. And out of the 250 cars, one thing you ought to note, the US Project 7s didn't get a cut down screen because they have to do a completely different crash test by doing that change, and they also had airbag seats rather than the carbon seats in this. But apart from that, they're the same. And then I thought I'd just put the roof on to show it actually has a roof. It's in a sort of 3 section. You put this section on here, and the normal F-Type has the electric roof, but it's really quite heavy. And this is ridiculously lightweight. I actually weighed it. It's 8 kilos this weighs. It's all made of carbon fibre across here, and it's made as light as possible. And it's, yeah, the only restriction on it is you're limited to 150 miles an hour with it up, which is hardly a restriction. And it's completely different body shape. Now, I got car number 1, so that's what all that's about. I've got everyone who built it to sign it. You also could spec, very few UK bars did, the dedicated helmet to go with your Project 7. I quite like the way they picked out the orange detail on my helmet. And you've got a sort of desk ornament of a Project 7 as well. So there we go. And this is the spec of the car. I just thought I'd get this out because I just, that bit about being a bit early, the big thing about it was how light they could make this car. And at the time it didn't seem a massive jump in lightness because its weight is 1585 kilos. You know, that's a bit porky. Well, consider that now if you can buy a Jaguar F-Type SVR convertible that has the same 575 horsepower engine as this, but it only comes with as standard four-wheel drive, and it has electric hood and stuff. That car weighs 1,820 kilos, so it's over it's 240, 250 kilos heavier than this car, and the SVR can get to 0 to 100 in 7.1 seconds. Nobody knows how fast a Project 7 gets to 100 miles an hour, but it is chuffing quick. It's the wildest car in this garage. I mean, the Project 8 is pretty nuts, but with this being two-wheel drive and that much lighter, it is a firm favourite in the garage. So what I'm going to do, these series of 3 videos starts off at London Concours, then we're going off into Europe, which I'll explain more, but we're going to do about over 2,000 miles in this car. So the first job, take it down the house, get it packed, and then we leave about 7:30 in the morning for Hampton Court Palace. Well, morning. We're just outside Hampton Court. Set off this morning, I don't know, 7:30 I think was the aim. I don't think we quite did it from home. Easy rundown. I cheated and I've left the roof on just because it was M40 and then M25 and not really a particularly nice drive down. And yeah, I'm going to take the roof off before we turn up there and pretend we've done the whole journey with roof down. Release a handle here. Like that. Another handle, I don't know if you can see that, just on the header rail there. And off comes the roof. I mean, it's amazing construction. It's all carbon fibre. It cost an absolute fortune to engineer. And there. And there you go. You suddenly have a convertible Project 7 . This is our lineup, so we're at 1956 at the moment, so Frog Eye, 1958 I was born, so Frog Eye Sprite, oh here we go, God, yeah, Aston Martin, Zagato, what on earth's that, oh Marcus, look at that Marcus, that's pretty special. 1966 for the Jensen Interceptor FF, Range Rover, 1970, what's 71? Well, we've arrived at the Hampton Court display. I've actually been here a couple of hours. It all went out of control as we pulled up here. We're all meant to be in date order, but some other cars here, it doesn't really matter. It's basically a garden party, this Hampton Court Concours, and there are some fantastic cars I want to show you. I have the catalogue here, And what I love about this event, you can see there's all these trees everywhere, and you stumble over another masterpiece of automotive engineering. So join me now. There's about, I think there's 82 cars on display actually in the concours itself. We're going to have a look at some of the highlights, and it's a bit random, but there really are some cars here I want to show you. I have to point out this Rolls-Royce, this very famous number plate, FU2, has graced a number of cars in the past. You have to be quite brazen to cope with a number plate like that. But the current owner carries it off very well. Another car, I just wanted to show you this Lotus Elite. This is one of 7 in existence. Have a look at the interior on this car. This was Colin Chapman's idea that he was going to come out of doing sort of sports cars, Caterham 7 or Lotus 7, and then the Elan and Elan Plus 2. This was the new car. It didn't quite work, but I always liked the design of this, and this sort of hatchback, sort of rear hatch, luggage, etc. It looks quite modern now, but Riviera edition, and that's why it's got the removable panel for the roof. Very avant-garde for this period. Number of hero cars here. I don't know where to start with this collection. An enterprising soul put it through a collection of golf racing cars, and at this event they've got it together with the Martini coloured endurance races from the past as well. And this Porsche 911 RSR has been a dream car since I first saw it as a kid. Just the Martini colours and the sort of swollen arches and what this car meant. Massive hero car to me. And then the Martini colours on this and the long tail, the Martini Porsche. What a machine. Now we've got that Porsche RSR there, but they've got the Porsche RSR Turbo, which has the best arse on any car I know. Look at this thing. You can hardly miss it's got a turbo. And can you imagine racing this or following this in a race? This would be all glowing cherry red. Wow, that's just the wastegate exhaust there, straight out the turbo. Think of the sound that thing's making. Just fantastic to see it here. I would imagine an absolute animal to drive. The other thing I can't get over about cars, race cars this year, look how high it sits. Look how much suspension it has. It's from a completely different era. Let's have a look at the date, 1974 for that one. Oh, and there's a Porsche 917 sat beside it. Flat 12 engine, you can see the fan in there, Ferdinand Piech developed car. Really quite a wild car. It needed a bit more aero work on it before they first went racing with it, but obviously its history and how much what it won in its brief period of complete domination at Le Mans and stuff. Another car just behind you I want to show you. I never thought I'd see for real outside a magazine. The Aston Martin Bulldog, called the DBK 901 to give it its strict name, 1979. This was Victor Gauntlant's era of Aston, and this was conceived to be a 200-mile-an-hour Aston Martin. And when it was first released, we just couldn't believe it. I mean, it's magazine articles, etc. They were actually going to produce a few of these. Extraordinary chassis. This is Aston Martin. The Gonda was out, so this very avant-garde interior, LED readouts, no sort of gauges on it, and how the chassis just cuts away when you open the door and get straight into it. I mean, what did Aston Martin owners make of this thing? It actually got cancelled in 1981, and it then went out to the Middle East for quite a while, but it's come back. A new owner has got the car, and he's tasked some very specialists in the UK to put it back, and they are actually going to see, with Darren Turner at the wheel, see this car really could do 200 miles an hour. It's powered in the back is the Aston V8, but twin turbocharged power. Fabulous to see it here though, and I wish it all the very best. Whether I want to be sitting there at 200 miles an hour, I'm not quite so sure, especially on these sort of smaller tyres, 15-inch tyres. They look like Countach tyres to me. Well, there's more Golf and Martini liveried masterpieces here. Lancia Beta. Now, this isn't what a Monte Carlo. Right, this is interesting. This is not what I thought it was. The Lancia LC2, just synonymous with the Martini colours. And then the 037 here, rally car, which I'm obviously been very lucky to drive one of these cars as well. Supercharged and turbocharged, this car, just wild, make it as light as they could. I just think cars look so good with all the mechanicals exposed like this. It looks so purposeful. And to think this has got a reg number and you can drive it about. As we know, it was the last two-wheel drive car to win the World Rally Championship in its day, when all the former four-wheel drive weapons took over from it. Incredibly lightweight and so Italian. It's an unusual car. I saw this drive past when we were queuing earlier. Never seen a windscreen like this one. This is a Rolls-Royce Phantom. This is 1937, but with the windscreen canted forward like that. Quite bizarre. This has had a full restoration, this Rolls-Royce. Another thing I should have realised, and I didn't, but this is a V12 Rolls-Royce. I obviously can't open the covers, but there is a 7.3 litre V12 24 valve engine in there, producing 165 horsepower, which is quite a lot for 1937, but just the elegance of it, quite an amazing thing. But there's a McLaren down here that you just have to see. We just walk along the road. This is the madness of this Hampton Court Concours. There's that 1937 roll, always a Bugatti, and then you've got McLaren F1 11R. So this is the GTR version of the McLaren F1. Still manual, privately owned, and has it got? Yeah, no, it hasn't. So this is the race version, so it's got a single seat here, and then the other side there are all sorts of switched gear and battery, etc. It's sacrificed a third seat for racing. Can't score it. There's 9 built, 1996 specification. Yeah, season opener Paul Ricard finished 15th. Then bounced back second place at Monza. And dismal trip to Silverstone, ended with transmission failure after 45 laps. Next race was Suzuka, where I ended up in 5th place. So yeah, it's got a very busy past, and now what an extraordinary car to see here on the gravel amongst the trees at London Concours. Yeah, we hear some noise in the background. These cars in the Concours are just going round doing parade under the Concours stage. Thought I'd show you this car, because you don't often see the 250 GT Tour de France as it's termed. This is basically the longer wheelbase of the 250 short wheelbase, or the 250 GTO, and incredibly lightweight. I was amazed how light they managed to get this. So the aim when they built this car was how light could we make it, and it was a racer again, endurance racer, but this with V12 engine weighs 1,060 kilos, so just over a tonne for a 3 litre V12 2+2. Well, he hasn't actually got any rear seats, only got the 2 seats. But yeah, sort of the connoisseur of the Ferrari vintage world absolutely love them. But so too much here to see. Again, I want to show you the interior on this car. Oh, I'm fighting a professional photographer here. Here he is. There's art going on here at the moment. That's lovely. Look at the interior of this car. This elegant lady is about to go in, but I don't know if you can just see inside. Wouldn't they do some wonderful interiors in 1934? And they don't get more spectacular than that.
We had to find the looms.
Did you?
Where this fabric is woven, and then we had new fabric woven.
Oh, it's a
this
masterpiece.
Is the original.
Oh, it is the original on the door.
No, we found the looms and had it reworked.
I wonder, I mean, it's like that. Does the owner actually choose that, or does he come with a sample and I say, I want this in my car?
We found it in the little, you find little bits and pieces in the engine. This was a wreck.
Right.
And we found little bits and pieces. And then, but we have another Voisin, and it has the same interior.
Does it really? So it was a signature of them.
Different color.
Yeah. Look how they attach, thank you so much. Look how they attach the windscreen and how it's frameless at the top.
No, the best thing is the sunroof. Look at the sunroof.
A metal sunroof, isn't there, on this?
What happens when it goes back there? So there's a little glass.
Oh, it's still glass in the sunroof. Yeah, I love this period of car. Thank you very much for giving us a tour. I just loved that it was purely for style. You had really arrived if you appeared in that to your dinner party or to your restaurant, favourite restaurant. Right. I feel awful walking past a P3 Tipo Alfa Romeo or the Zagato DB4 GT Zagato, but there is so much to see here. Incredibly famous Rolls Royce, this one. This is the one which was coined the Silver Ghost, because it wasn't christened that to begin with. It was only when it was road tested by early autocar journalists, they were so quiet and so refined, it became christened the Silver Ghost. And this is aluminium paint. I thought it was always polished aluminium, but it's only the bulkhead here is polished. This car has been locked away in VW's museum for over 20 years. This is its first outing in 20 years. And it is the car that made Rolls-Royce back in period. I'm trying to think the date of this car is, 1907, this car. It's 50 horsepower from about a 6-litre engine, but it was a refinement and it transformed what was expected from a motor car in refinement. This one actually worked and could do miles and was reliable and made the Rolls-Royce brand. Should add that although the owners judge the competition, so the best in class, the best from each decade and that sort of thing, the criteria for judging is which car would you most like to take home. That's it. No other rules, nothing to do with originality, nothing to do with who owned it, whatever. Which car would you most like to take home? And I just love the simplicity of the judging here, because that is the best way. It's a subjective thing anyway, but that's the best way of doing it. And I think that is the car I would most like to take home, that orange F1 GTR. There you go, you know my winner now. I don't think you can find his parking spot. It's been done several laps already. Or is it just an excuse to drive about in it? I think it's probably the latter. Yeah, now here's one of my favourite cars at this event. This is owned by Simon Kiston. This is the 1966 Alfa Romeo TZ2, so a Zagato bodied TZ car, 1.6 litre engine, about 170 horsepower, made for endurance racing, and this one did incredibly well in period in 1966 when it was new. Targa Floor is where it had its starring role. It got 4th overall and 1st in class of this car. I just love the interior, the way there's a speedo over for on the passenger side, shall we say, and then the rev counter over the other side. And it has quite an interesting backstory, this car, that it was raced extensively and then went back to Florence, and it was just in Florence when the floods arrived in Florence. I'm trying to see which year this was, but it was in a garage. And fortunately, they put it up on the lift. So while all the other cars in the workshop were destroyed, this one, because they'd left it up on the lift overnight, survived. And full restoration. Simon drives it a lot, and I just think it's the best thing. It's like a junior Ferrari GTO to me, 250 GTO. Great to see it here. Yeah, Lancia were such innovators. I've never seen this car before. 1933 Lancia de Alhambra. But what is going on in this suspension here? I have no idea. The other thing that's very peculiar, it seems to have an exhaust manifold either side. So is it a V8 with a flat head or something? I have no idea. There's one carburettor there. Yeah, there's only the one carburettor, so it breathes this size. Who knows? But I just love that Lancia were always trying to reinvent something that didn't really need it reinvented, and sometimes they got it right. Is this a V8?
V8, 4 litre, 24 degree angle.
So it's like the Fulvia. The Fulvia, unbelievable. I couldn't work it out at all. Ferrari 250 GT Europa, very neat little thing. Oh, this car is a Porsche 90. And this is 1965 car, and this car, hello, good to see. I'm just describing your car. Yes, and that was at Geneva in 1965. So this is the first sight of the Porsche 911 at the Geneva Motor Show 1965, and that car was on the stand. Lord knows what that's worth. There's also a little Messerschmitt going past. Oh, it's Countach. Now this Countach, this white Countach, so just divert from the this lives about 10 miles down the road from me, and I never knew it existed, and it works. Hello, are you doing a tour?
Doing a tour, which we did this morning, so we're going to do another one.
You are so well dressed for this event.
I'm very obedient.
Yeah.
Products of English public school.
Yeah,
You're told to wear a tie. My kids have worn a tie since they were at school.
So, but you are. I've never seen a Countach driver in a tie, but it takes me back. Beautifully running car. Really nice to see with the wing, so it's not as quick as mine. And looking good. Yes, it's just this is owned by someone else I know, and they really drive their cars. Hello. And that car has got over 20,000 kilometres on it, that F50, because they drive all over Europe in it. And I do hope they will actually do the Enzo as well. They've only just bought, and they're going to do the same with that as well. It's got 2,500 kilometres on it at the moment. I bet by this time next year I'll have 10. There we are. Now, another car. I can't believe is here. My lord, I have no idea this car existed. We've all heard of DS, convertible Citroen DSs, but here is the SM version with those peculiar wheels as well. My lord, who would have, I think there's only 5 examples of this car in existence. So Chappelle, the same people who converted the DS, did a few SMs, and that's one of the 5 there. Now, a completely different set of cars down here. These are the future classics. And here is a McLaren SLR by MSO, a limited edition that you might know very well if you watch Harry's Garage, because that's the one we took to the Lake District, and I had an absolute ball in it, and it completely changed my opinion of the McLaren SLR. And I started hunting the classifieds for it. This is another car I've actually driven, but not in this form. This is 2008 Pagani Zonda 760 VR. Now, I say not in this form because this car actually left the factory in 2008 as a Zonda F Roadster, and at Evo magazine we awarded it the ultimate supercar competition. We drove it quite a lot. The owner was extremely generous with it, but recently it's gone back to the factory and it has been converted to this 760 spec you see here with the Cinque scoop here, all sorts of aero going on, feeding this even more powerful version of the Mercedes V12. An extraordinary statement. Zonda is the car everybody wants now, and the increase in values on these cars is, well, amazing. They're over 10 million now for one of these. Come down here, this is a really interesting car as well. Iso Evolta GT by Zagato, very clean design. I don't know much about it, but it's a very elegant coachbook car. And then the Countach here, 2021 Superleggera Camel. We saw it racing at Le Mans. Well, this is the road version. I haven't seen a road version before. You have to look at the interior of this car. The gold, I don't know, it's mad, this thing. Whether it's going to succeed, how many road cars they have to make, I don't know, but the interior is off the scale. You know the aero works, it was doing pretty well. I'm surprised it's on steel brakes though. You would have thought with that extreme performance it would be on carbon brakes. Yeah, the race, that's interesting, the race version is on steel brakes as well. There we are. And then, well, this lineup finishes off with this Ferrari LaFerrari coupe in this wonderful colour. It's one of 2 LaFerraris done in this colour, and I think it's great. Yeah. A couple of late entries to this future classic, I think. There's Countach Riviera. Not seen one on the road before. I like this one because it's a very clean design. They were getting quite complicated design. Great to see it there. I haven't seen it move today, but would like to see it. And I just wanted to show you this Aston Martin as well. This is the Vanquish shooting brake, and I know the owner of this car. And what I can't get over, it's in use almost daily. It's over 10,000 miles, this car. I know it's been around Italy, etc. It's great to see because it has the added bonus of practicality, if you like, being a shooting brake. Well, that's the end of the tour around the Hampton Court Concours. Hope you enjoyed that little look. What I'm going to do now is, the reason the car's all packed up is the next stop is Eurotunnel tonight. The time now is at 3 p.m. We're on I think it's a 7:30 crossing into France, stop the night just at the top of France, and then we're heading down to Antibes, taking in some of our favourite roads on the way down. So the next time you join us, we'll be in France. So that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos coming on very soon.